The rain streaked down the tall windows of my study, painting the night in streaks of silver and gray. Outside, the city pulsed with life, unaware of the storm brewing inside my own home. I sat behind my desk, glass of bourbon untouched, as a soft click from the kitchen drew my attention. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but I knew that sound. The kind of sound that sets your chest into a slow, painful beat, the sound of whispered plotting. I moved silently, my leather slippers making no sound against the dark hardwood. I paused behind the slightly ajar door, and my stomach twisted into a knot that felt like molten steel. "I'm telling you, George doesn't suspect a thing," my wife, Laura, said, her voice a syrupy mixture of impatience and false sweetness. Her brother, Cincer, chuckled low and confident. "He's too busy in his little world to notice. By next month, everything, house, accounts, even the company, will be ours." The words hit me like a hammer. My own blood ran cold. My wife, the woman I loved, the one I'd trusted with my heart and soul, plotting my ruin. And Cincer, my adopted brother, my childhood shadow, grinning like a predator ready to devour everything I had. I took a deep breath, letting the fury rise and fall like ocean waves, trying to keep my control. I could storm in, shatter them with my rage, but no, they needed to believe I was the fool. Let them taste their victory before I showed them the abyss waiting on the other side. I sank back into my chair, closing my eyes. The memories came like flickering film. Our wedding, Laura laughing as she twirled in her white gown, Cincer shaking my hand with a smile I now knew was fake. I remembered my father's words, long ago, when I was barely old enough to understand ambition. "People will try to take everything from you, George, but if you learn patience, even the wolves will stumble." Patience, I had enough of it now. I opened my eyes, sharp as knives, and pulled out my phone. I didn't need to confront them tonight. I needed proof. Every word, every move, every plan they whispered in confidence would be recorded. They would have nothing left to hide. I poured myself a drink, the amber liquid catching the dim light, turning it into liquid fire. "You think you can destroy me," I whispered to the empty room, "but I will burn brighter than your greed could ever imagine." Days passed like a slow, torturous dance. I watched them, Laura more careful, Cincer more arrogant, unaware that every step, every secret was catalogued and analyzed. I had allies I didn't show, people loyal to me for reasons even they didn't fully understand. My plan didn't need violence, only precision. One night, I confronted Laura, not with anger, but with cold certainty. I found her in the study, pretending to organize papers. "George," she began, voice shaky, but I didn't let her finish. "Don't, I know everything." My words weren't loud, they were sharp, controlled. "I heard every word, I saw the plans, and Cincer, he's already dancing on the edge of his own ruin and he doesn't even know it." Her face paled. I saw fear flicker in her eyes, the mask she wore so well crumbling in a heartbeat. You can't," she hissed, venom mixing with desperation. "Oh, I can," I said, voice calm, deadly calm. "But right now, I'm letting you live to see it all fall apart, step by step, second by second." She opened her mouth to argue, but I left her with nothing but the weight of inevitability. That night, alone in the dark of my room, I allowed myself a small, bitter smile. Revenge wasn't about rage, it was about patience, and patience was my weapon. From the shadows, Cincer watched me as well, his thoughts a storm I could almost read. A part of me wondered, would he ever choose redemption, or would he fall further into the abyss of his own ambition? That answer would come soon enough. And when it did, there would be no turning back. The city was quiet that morning, the streets slick with rain, reflecting neon signs like shattered glass. I walked to the office, trench coat heavy on my shoulders, but my mind weighed heavier. Every smile I gave, every handshake I extended was a mask. Beneath it, a plan was unfurling, delicate as spider silk, but stronger than steel. I could see them everywhere. Laura with her rehearsed grace, pretending nothing was wrong. Cincer, arrogant as ever, texting in the boardroom with a smirk that screamed, "I own this world." I let them think they were safe. I called my assistant, Mara, into my office. Her eyes, sharp and trustworthy, caught mine immediately. I need full access to all company accounts, emails, everything Cincer might touch, I said, voice quiet but commanding. Her eyebrows rose. You want to trap him? I smiled faintly, a slow curve that didn't reach my eyes. Not trap, expose, let him fall by his own hand. She nodded, understood. Meanwhile, at home, Laura tried to charm me. Dinner by candlelight, soft music in the background, her perfume curling in the air like a sweet trap. You've been distant, she said, tilting her head. Is everything okay? I raised an eyebrow, sipping my wine. I'm reflective, I said carefully, letting the word hang between us like a knife. She hesitated, a flicker of fear in her eyes. She tried to smile. Reflective is fine, you've just been quiet lately. Yes, I murmured, leaning back. Quiet, observing, waiting. I didn't tell her I'd already planted a subtle chain of financial triggers. A few mismanaged transfers here, a few suspicious emails there. Everything invisible, yet carefully orchestrated. Their greed would accelerate itself, and I'd watch the collapse in slow motion. Later that week, a flashback hit me. Childhood in the old house, Cincer and I running through fields, laughing until we fell in the grass. You're too careful, George, Cincer had said back then, tossing a stick like a general plotting war. Sometimes you have to take it all or you get nothing. Even then, I'd felt a twinge of unease. And now, decades later, I understood him perfectly. He never changed. His ambition was a wildfire, and I was about to let it consume him. That night, I orchestrated our first real move. I sent a discreet message to a trusted lawyer, one who owed me a favor. The legal net was set, a trap disguised as opportunity. I watched Cincer that evening through the reflections of the study window. He was reviewing some investment opportunity. Smirking at projected returns he didn't truly understand. It was beautiful, the way greed blinded him. I almost laughed at the poetry of it. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Laura, delicate and trembling. George, are you sure you're okay? You seem different. I typed back slowly. I'm better than ever, just enjoying the game. And that was the truth. Every calculated step, every flicker of suspicion, every smile I faked was part of the masterpiece. The morning sun seeped through the blinds, casting thin lines of gold across my desk. I sipped my coffee slowly, listening to the faint hum of the city below, the calm before the storm I had carefully brewed. I checked the alerts. Cincer had made the first careless move. A transfer that should have been simple had been misrouted, flagged, and quietly frozen by my legal team. A tiny mistake, but enough to start the dominoes falling. At home, Laura's demeanor was changing. She moved with a tension that was new, subtle but noticeable, like a violin string stretched too tight. That night, she tried her usual act of flirtation, leaning close with perfume curling in the air. George, she murmured, voice soft, I don't know what's gotten into you. You've been cold. I leaned back, letting the chair creak under me, eyes narrowing slightly. Cold, perhaps, or perhaps I just see things more clearly now. She blinked, uncertainty flickering in her gaze. Things like what? I allowed a pause long enough to make her uncomfortable. Then, quietly, I see greed. I see betrayal. I see the truth hidden behind every smile. Her lips parted in shock. For the first time, she looked small, vulnerable, the kind of fear that can't be faked. Meanwhile, Cincer was oblivious to the tightening noose. He strutted through the office as if he owned it, laughing at emails and congratulating himself on genius investments. But subtle nudges I had left in the system, a misplaced contract here, a phantom audit there, began to unravel his confidence. He didn't notice yet, but I could see it in the slight twitch of his jaw, the tightening of his grip on his phone. I allowed myself a flashback. Years ago, when we were boys, Cincer had once taken my favorite bike for a joyride, claiming, "If you're too slow, you don't deserve it." I had chased him down the street, arms aching, heart furious, but never retaliated. I had learned patience even then, and now that lesson would turn the tables. That night, I staged a small confrontation, just enough to shake Laura further. She tried to corner me in the study. "You're playing games," she spat, her voice trembling between anger and fear. I remained seated, calm, almost gentle in my tone. "No games, Laura, just letting reality unfold. You and Cincer thought you could outsmart me, but reality doesn't care about your plans." Tears welled in her eyes. You can't ruin us like this." I stood, slow, deliberate, walking toward the window, hands clasped behind my back. Outside, the city lights flickered in the wet streets below. I turned slightly, letting the reflection of my calm, resolute face confront her. "I'm not ruining anyone," I said softly. "I'm only showing you what you've built your lives on: lies, greed, betrayal. Watch it collapse if you dare." By the end of the week, cracks appeared even in Cincer's confidence. A minor partner withdrew from an investment, citing unexpected discrepancies. Another email flagged him for suspicious transactions. Panic crept into his eyes, though he tried to mask it. Laura called me one night, her voice thin and desperate. "George, please, we can fix this. I'll stop anything. Just don't ruin us completely." I allowed a sad smile, almost pitying. "It's too late for that. You had your chance." The office was dark except for the soft glow of city lights through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Papers were scattered across my desk, a silent testament to the chaos I had orchestrated. But the real chaos was no longer on paper. It was in the hearts of those I had watched for months. Cincer stormed into my office, face red, hands shaking, fury and panic intertwined. "George, what have you done?" I didn't flinch. I remained standing, looking down at him, calm as a winter lake. "Done? Cincer, I've done nothing. You've done everything yourself. Your greed, your arrogance, your betrayal." He slammed his hand on the desk, sending a stack of papers fluttering to the floor. "No, this is impossible. I controlled everything." "You thought you did," I said quietly, letting the words hang like a guillotine blade. "But every misstep, every carelessly sent email, every overconfident move, I anticipated it. I let you believe you were the hunter when you were the prey." Cincer's chest heaved. His eyes, once confident, were now wild, searching for a loophole, a way out. You can't ruin me." I stepped closer, close enough that he could see the cold fire in my eyes. "I'm not ruining you, Cincer. I'm giving you a choice. One last choice." His hands trembled. He swallowed hard. "Choice? What do you mean?" I leaned in, voice soft but unwavering. "You can keep chasing revenge, keep trying to claw back what you think you deserve, and watch yourself lose everything. Or you can stop, admit what you've done, and try to salvage whatever honor you have left." Flashbacks hit me like lightning. The childhood fights, the petty arguments over nothing. The day Cincer stole my prize, thinking it was his by right. The countless times I let him have his way, believing brotherhood mattered more than winning. And now, all those lessons came full circle. Cincer's jaw tightened. Rage warred with fear, and for a heartbeat, I saw the boy I once knew buried beneath the man consumed by ambition. "You think I'll forgive you," I said quietly, almost a whisper. "No, but I can stop you from destroying yourself further." Tears pricked his eyes, anger, frustration, and something that resembled guilt. His voice was hoarse. I don't know if I can forgive myself." "You don't have to," I replied, "but you can choose to survive or burn." The room fell into silence, the only sound the distant hum of traffic far below. Cincer sank into a chair, head in his hands. I could see the battle raging inside him. One side screamed for revenge, for retribution. The other side, quieter, whispered that maybe, just maybe, he had pushed too far. Meanwhile, Laura appeared at the doorway, her face pale, eyes wide with fear and regret. "Cincer, maybe we should listen." He looked up at her, torn. The man he had been, arrogant, greedy, was crumbling. And the man he could be, the one George offered as a lifeline, stared back at him from the reflection in the glass. The city slept beneath a velvet sky, the lights flickering like distant stars. In the quiet of my office, the tension was suffocating, thick enough to taste. I leaned against my desk, arms crossed, waiting. Cincer sat across from me, face pale, eyes haunted. The man who had once laughed, schemed, and plotted against me was now broken in a way only truth and consequence could achieve. "George," his voice was barely a whisper, hoarse from anger and exhaustion. I don't know what to do." "You know," I said simply. My words were calm, deliberate, carrying the weight of every betrayal I'd endured. "Every choice you make now defines who you are. Revenge will destroy you. Forgiveness will save what little dignity you have left." He shook his head, fists clenching. "I should hate you, I should. And lose yourself in the fire of your own making," I finished for him. "Yes, that is what happens when you chase revenge. But look around, Cincer. Look at what greed and betrayal have brought you." He glanced at Laura, who stood silently behind him, trembling. Her face was etched with regret, fear, and desperation. He swallowed hard. I thought I deserved it all. The house, the company, her love, I thought it was mine." I stepped closer, voice soft, almost a whisper. "You thought wrong, and now you have a choice. Step off this path of destruction or fall." A flashback surged in his mind. The little boy he had been, running through fields with me, laughing, carefree. The bond we had shared, untainted by ambition or greed. Tears welled in his eyes. I don't know if I can forgive myself," he said, voice breaking. "You don't need to," I replied, placing a hand briefly on his shoulder, the gesture heavy with both warning and compassion. "You just need to decide if you'll live or burn." He sat in silence, breathing ragged, eyes darting between Laura and me. I saw it, the tiny flicker of choice, buried under anger, emerging slowly like dawn over a dark horizon. Finally, he exhaled, a shuddering human sound. I won't fight you, not anymore." The relief in Laura's eyes was palpable. Even she had feared the storm would claim him entirely. I nodded once. "Good, now you live, and you learn. But remember this, every action has a consequence. Let this be yours." The tension dissolved slowly, replaced by a heavy, bittersweet calm. Cincer looked broken, but not destroyed. Laura's face, pale and haunted, softened slightly. And I felt the quiet satisfaction of victory, not through cruelty, but through patience, precision, and the careful orchestration of truth. Later, alone in my study, I poured a glass of bourbon and looked out at the city. Rain began to fall again, streaking the glass in silver threads. I allowed myself a small smile. Revenge had been a game, yes, but more importantly, I had survived, and those who betrayed me had seen the cost of their choices. Cincer and Laura were left with nothing but the weight of their regrets, and perhaps, in time, the chance to rebuild themselves if they were willing. I raised my glass to the night, to patience, to truth, and to the fire that reveals who we really are. The rain fell steadily, washing the city clean, and for the first time in months I felt at peace.